a good listener listens to understand. We're always seeking to understand, and if we're not seeking to understand, we're probably listening to reply.
That's right.
And
that's right.
Listening to reply means we're not trying to understand the scope of the situation. So we're not going to have a win-win.
Yes.
Yes. Compromise or solutions. So.
And then another thing I might bring up, John Gottman, who has been a person I've followed over the years, the research he's done from the University of Washington on couples, and we know it applies really to all communication between two people. It's the 5-to-1 ratio.
Okay, tell me about that.
5-to-1. Okay, if you have a negative interaction with someone, and you probably would both agree it was pretty negative, it takes 5 positive, and sometimes even more if it was extremely unpositive, 5 or more positive interactions to heal that relationship, to protect that relationship. And you have to have the desire to want to protect a relationship if you're thinking about communication skills. Some people, I don't care about that person. Well, then you're not going to probably have a long-term positive relationship. And when it comes to a family, that can be very detrimental.
Yeah, so if like a partner and you have a disagreement, maybe it's financially related or about jobs or whatever, it takes, so you're saying this research is saying that it takes at least 5 very strong positive moments of communication, signs of affection, love, support, in order to ensure that disagreement isn't going to damage the relationship.
That's right, and chip away, that it won't chip away. Okay. And when we talk about these 5 times or 5 interactions, they could be not that, you may think, well, they're not that significant. But it might be saying please and thank you to the person more, or offering to bring the groceries into the car, or clearing the table that night. It can be very small things.
Or even just referring to them with nice language and not name calling or anything. I have this visual of a pet, like my dog, as you're training puppies or any animal, you have to discipline them quite a bit because that's the process. But then you always have your treat in your back pocket to reward them and to praise them and to provide that positive encouragement. And it's similar to human relationships. Pet relationship is you want to build that affection and that trust, and you can think about that with children too. Early childhood research teaches that as well, that that the first years that a child learns that they're loved and supported, and that's never going away. That's right. Builds the foundation for the times when it's time to go sit in timeout because you made an inappropriate decision in the grocery store or whatever. So I just, in my mind, I just have a picture of me training a puppy and thinking of the 5-to-1 ratio. And here it's just one of the basic foundational points of strong families.
That's right. And I think about appreciation and affection. Do we show our appreciation for the clerk in the grocery store more easily than with the family member? But showing appreciation, stopping to do that and being intentional is really helpful for strong family relationships.
Yeah, whether it's your coworker or the clerk in the grocery store or whoever, it's important to remember to be kind because everyone's fighting a difficult battle. You know? So you might be having a bad day, but you have no idea what the other person's having a difficult time with that day. And if you focus on being kind and respectful, then whether you count the change wrong or burn the supper or whatever, you can work through that situation.
That's right.
Yeah. Great. What other ways can we work through conflict and disagreements in a positive way rather than chipping away at the relationship strength.
I think of another thing that Dr. Gottman also brought to my attention and what he would write about relationships, and that's responding to cues from the person with whom you're communicating. And I often think of it in terms of the family setting. But sometimes we ignore cues that if we picked up on that cue, it's a good way to keep building on that relationship. And an example I often use when I've given workshops is my husband of 42 years, we're sitting there watching, we're empty nest and sitting there watching, or sitting in the living room, he's watching TV, I'm reading perhaps, and he looks out the window and he might say, "Hey, George just went by with a nice new livestock trailer." Now, he's not talking to the dog, I'm pretty sure, and he's stopped watching TV and noted that. Now, I have three options.
Okay.
He's given me a cue.
A cue is like an invitation to talk.
Yeah.
Okay, an invitation.
Now, and the three options I have, first, I can ignore it.
Okay.
I'm going to say, "Well, where's my glasses? I'm trying to read."
Okay.
So I've totally ignored that comment. The second way that I could respond would be with some hostility. "You don't think we can afford a trailer like that right now?" So I acknowledged him,
Right.
but yet the way I acknowledged him is not healthy. And the third one is just taking a second and saying, "Hey, that is a nice trailer." That's all is needed. We don't have to have a 5, 10, 15-minute conversation. It was just acknowledging that he said something to me.
So which one of those would be the healthiest for a relationship?
Well, the third one.
Okay. So to acknowledge it, you know, the trailer drove by.
Yeah.
Yep, I saw it, you see it.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yep.
Then I'm often surprised too, or I was when I initially was reading about this, the other two responses.
Okay.
The one is ignoring and the other is turning against almost.
Right.
Being defensive about the comment. Okay, so what did Dr. Gottman find? Which of those responses, when it became a pattern, was more harmful to a relationship? And it is the one that's the most harmful to a relationship is the ignoring.
Okay, interesting.
If it becomes a pattern over time, we're talking about patterns too.
Right. I mean, life happens. Sometimes you accidentally ignore or don't hear, we're so wrapped up in maybe something else that we're not listening.
That's right.
So.
And he just found that, and I'm talking now specifically couple relationships, but his research does really generalize to relationship building, that if you ignore a person over time, that person's going to stop trying to communicate, and our common term is together alone.
Right.
Or alone together.
Alone together. So they're going to stop coming to you with those cues of, hey, let's have a conversation. And then before you know it, you're making separate financial decisions. You're making separate affection, you're finding other ways to take
time together.
You're doing separate because so it's healthier for the relationship to work through conflict, disagreements, because you're acknowledging that, hey, and you're gonna have that conversation about, like with your example, you talked about being able to afford the trailer. You're having a real conversation between the two people, and you're not going your separate ways. So I can see that,
And if we practice these things on relationship building, just in day-to-day life, when a conflict does come up, it will help protect the relationship.
Okay.
If you're not used to thinking about being respectful for the most part of your time with another person, when a conflict does come up, then it's easy to slip into disrespectful communication and damaging the relationship.
Yeah.